Alright, video response to TJ, of all people. Can you believe it? Anyway, the amazing atheist on his TJ Does Life channel. Alright, so he made two videos. One about being a stranger in a strange world kind of thing. The other one about experience not being an explanation. That's how I would change it. Yeah, I think that would be better. It could work both ways. Experience isn't an explanation, and an explanation isn't experience. Yeah. So anyway, I think that sounds better. But anyway, you get the idea. It's this art science thing. Is the truth what we're experiencing, this gooey part, or is the truth analysis of the gooey part, description of it? All the experiments you can do. You can do millions of them actually. So even explanation doesn't really have a finite container. You can't put explanation in a little container and say, there it is. Because explanation can be really, really, really huge, because you can explain every single context and every single potentiality or possibility. And but yeah, obviously a good enough explanation can be really, really tiny. I mean, you just need a tiny kernel of the truth sometimes to describe 99.99% of what matters. And that's the tricky part, again, finding the what matters part. So anyway, that was basically the introduction. Okay, yeah, I didn't mean to get on the video already. But let's do the stupid part first. The, fucked up person in fucked up world kind of shit. What do you do with this life thing? How do you even make any sense of any of it? Everything is kind of fake, and there's all so much phoniness and pretense in our existence. We're all trying to be a human being, a proper human being, whatever the fuck that is, and it's so hard to figure that out. Like, what part of yourself is genuine and what part of yourself is just some sort of junk on your anus or something, just stuff you don't even want to know exists, let alone parade in front of the world. And that's the tricky part. I mean, how much of your personality should you give the world, because it's might be a kernel of value in it, and how much of it should you, keep in the closet somewhere, so to speak, quote unquote. Anyway, the other thing is too, to do this here blanket thing, right? You really almost had it, but you can't cut a hole in it. No. Cut a slit in it. All right, then and then it will form, and you won't have that pointless V thingy, opening roundy thing, whatever. And you won't have to put a collar on, or it's just much more effective. And then the only thing you got to figure out is you probably shouldn't put it in the middle, depending on what how big the blanket is, because sometimes you got to cover. It depends on what you're trying to I mean, you need the front, or are you trying to hide the back. Depends kind of on the circumstance. So you should probably be off center. Yeah. And most blankets aren't perfectly square. Well, it doesn't really matter. But enough of that. Just a little free advice. Alright, so okay, that's enough of the strangeness part. But isn't that is the thing, is that to be a real person, to be real, don't you have to be real? I mean, don't we have to really be what we really are to be real? I mean, aren't we being just some sort of fake matrix kind of projection, some fake thing, like some fake TV show or some fake thing, because we can't really be us. We have to be something that is enclosed, that has all these containers around it, because if it does what it really wants to do at any real moment, it's going to step on other people's toes. It's going to take what it doesn't own. It's going to cross all these lines of equity and fairness and decency and all of that crap. And so isn't this a horrible dilemma? An ape has, in many ways, more reality than we have, because it can just pick its nose or scratch its ass or drink its own urine. It can do whatever the fuck it wants, and it will not be humiliated. It will not feel inhibited. It will feel at liberty. But then it has the downside where it's going to eat a lot of rotten crap and make itself sick and do all kinds of stupid things. Because it doesn't have the knowledge of the reason to be inhibited, the reason to be cautious. So yeah, and so finding that line, I guess, is the tricky part. Finding a place to live where you can have enough reality, but you're not an idiot, you're not stupid, and you're not reckless, and you're measured. And yeah, I mean, how do you find that balance? The right place to be, the place that gets the most out of yourself, where the inhibitions are useful ones rather than destructive ones. Alright, but then this migrates over to this whole conversation, though. Well, what if you do have this brain thing going on, and you are doing this calculating and this figuring and this analyzing thing, and you're starting to explain the maze or the game that you're all caught up in. And so now the reality isn't just, okay, well, what am I to the world? Now, what is the world to the word function? What is the world to words like purpose, or usefulness, or accomplishment? So it's not only me relative to that game, but now the game can be explained, and now the game can be picked apart. And you sort of implied that maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe, as Dawkins might say, that yeah, you can do this beauty in the universe thing, that somehow you can turn anything into anything by just bending your perspective a little, and that it isn't frightening to find out you're playing an idiotic game. Well, no, it is. Unintelligent design is frightening. And it seems the only conclusion. It seems the only place, like if you really do the dissection clinically, scientifically, all the answers aren't very good answers. I mean, there are no, like, happily ever after, Snow White fairy tale scientific discoveries. I mean, all the scientific discoveries are sort of, oh, this is a silly, stupid thing. This is a horrible waste. This is nonsensically horrific. Yeah, I mean, there's just there's no fun in it. The truth is not fun. The truth is dismal and kind of pitiful, that we are just born into a silly, preposterously unintelligent gameplay. And yeah, we can play because it's there, like blocks or Tinker Toys or Lincoln Logs, but I don't know. I mean, if you got a little too much brain, I think you're gonna say, why am I sitting here in a wet diaper playing with Lincoln Logs? I mean, is this really all? This is what I'm stuck with. This is what this brain is supposed to find good enough, and it's not going to be good enough. And so that's sort of the dilemma. And relating this to YouTube, in a way, you have this huge advantage because you're young and you have this medium that it allows you to have this conversation. It allows you to throw ideas into this arena and see how they do. To throw an argument into the arena and see, hey, how will my argument do? Will it survive, Skeletor? Will it survive that guy? And you can really test things, and you can test your ideas and test your notions of reality. I mean, I would have loved this when I was 25. And I can't even imagine 20 years of doing this, or 30 years of doing this, because it is so, it's so good at cropping things down and enabling you to re-engineer your argument machines, your little devices of truth that you throw into the game. So I mean, yeah, there's huge advantage there. The huge disadvantage is like I said, I think ultimately the conclusions are all horrifically negative. There's just nothing good about the truth. The truth is not happily ever after. The truth is, holy fucking shit, this is so fucking futile. We're just contriving things to chase and then chasing them. And sometimes we do it and we fall and we break our femur or something and it's horrific. And fluids fly out of us and other horrible things. That's just where the truth leads. The truth leads to these, utilitarian equations. This whole dissection of the fact that these individuals are just individuals, and if we were talking about humanity the way we would look at any other community of organisms like ants or bees or bugs or anything, it doesn't matter, rats in a maze, we would have such a, we would be able to be so much more clinical than people seem to be able to be when, yeah, the game is being played by these personalities. Then all of a sudden they want it to be art. They want to be artists, so they have the liberty to ignore the truth and just wallow in the fantasy, just wallow in any kind of story line that gets them out of reality and takes them someplace where maybe there is pots of gold and rainbows and happily ever afters and some sort of logical sense to things, some sort of lottery where people win the lottery and nobody loses the lottery. You know, some kind of magic world where there's no cost for any kind of benefit, where it is all like somehow free, like where there is actually a free lunch. You know, you go there, you have your free lunch, and it didn't cost anybody else anything. Didn't take food out of some other poor person's hands. Didn't waste any fuel. It just had no downside. It was just a perfectly free meal. Do we have any of those? Is there anything we can have on this fucking planet that doesn't in some way have to be extracted out of some other sentient being's welfare? I mean, there's just so very few. You can't, you know, there isn't any. So yeah, so I sort of lament your predicament in that you are asking questions in a world where there's not going to be any good answers. There really isn't. If you're honest, if you're intellectually honest, the answers are going to suck. And that's not a great circumstance. The great benefit of it is that, you know, from your position, you have both elements. You're strongest in your reality as an individual human. Your passions are the strongest in your youth. You're ready for the fight, and you have this time to meld this thing, this art and the reality, and see if you can find ways where human beings can be true to the truth, and also be to gain the most out of the experience. So to get an honest explanation, to keep our explanations honest, and to keep our experiences honest, to try to do both honestly. And that it's going to be interesting to see how this rolls into the future. Whether I just have to think that this open conversation has got to be fruitful in the end. That somehow this conversation eventually will have to be something that happens in public. That somehow it happens in the common, the pop culture earshot. It's a weird term. So anyway, I really I like your more human videos. You know, the fake humilities. You know, it's a little bit charming actually. Okay, I mean, I know you're just lying through your teeth, but I like, you know, when you're trying not to be pretentious and even doing it so aggressively, excessively, that, you know, it's almost insincere. I mean, sincerity that's so excessively you know, it's so excessive that you know it's insincere. Kind of funny, but anyway, yeah, good videos, and well, good enough. Well, yeah, well, I like the subjects. All right, we'll leave it at that. Well, anyway. Okay, I watched them and I didn't hate them. What else can I don't know how to, fuck it. I'm not going to worry about trying to explain. I'm making a response video and we'll see how this goes. There, that's good enough. Yeah, that's enough. So, until next time, if we can manage that one.